There's an ancient secret that separates learners from true masters, one that explains why most people stay stuck at the beginner level their entire lives. Ever wonder how some people pick up an instrument in months, learn a new language in a year, or build a business from nothing? Most assume it's talent, a natural gift. But that's the greatest lie we tell ourselves. The truth? Mastery has nothing to do with being born gifted. Throughout history, especially in feudal Japan, there was a powerful apprenticeship system that transformed ordinary people into elite warriors and world-class craftsmen. It wasn't about intelligence, it wasn't about talent, it was about following 3 invisible stages that turn amateurs into masters. This system was called Shuhari, and once you understand it, you stop being the person who starts everything and masters nothing. Instead, you become someone who learns anything whenever you choose. But it comes with a price. Your ego won't like what you're about to hear. Before we dive into this system, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and tell me in the comments, what skill do you want to master next? Guitar? Coding? A new language? I read every comment. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. The Lost Apprentice. In feudal Japan, there lived a young villager named Yamato, a boy with no title, no lineage, and no destiny, except the one he was determined to create. While others accepted their futures as farmers and merchants, Yamato was obsessed with one dream: to become a samurai. He watched the warriors ride through his village, calm, disciplined, commanding respect without a single word, and he knew he wanted that life more than he wanted to breathe. At 16, armed with nothing but a wooden sword, Yamato began training alone before sunrise. Horizontal strikes, vertical strikes, thrusts, hours every day, but after 6 months, nothing. His movements were stiff, his body unresponsive, the sword heavy and awkward. The harder he tried, the more frustrated he became. He devoured old manuscripts, memorized battle strategies, learned every classic technique, even studied Bushido. He had knowledge, but no mastery. Whenever he picked up the sword, it all vanished. A full year passed. Yamato was still just a village boy with an impossible dream. Until one day, everything changed. Chapter 2. The Meeting. One afternoon, while Yamato practiced alone by the forest, a voice cut through the silence. "Your feet are wrong, your posture is wrong, your breathing is wrong, everything you're doing is wrong." Yamato spun around. An older samurai stood behind him, grey hair tied back, scars carved across his face, and 2 swords at his waist. Shame washed over Yamato. I'm trying to learn on my own, sir. I have no master." The samurai circled him. "How long have you trained?" "A year." "And has anything improved?" Yamato stayed silent. The samurai took the wooden sword from his hands. "You think you're practicing, but you're only perfecting your mistakes. Every wrong repetition is teaching your body how to fail." The words struck harder than any blade. Yamato realized he hadn't been growing, he had been getting worse. Then, "How do I learn correctly?" Yamato asked. "I've read every scroll, memorized every move." "That is your mistake," the samurai snapped. "You tried to build a castle starting from the roof. Strategy before stance, innovation before imitation. You skipped the path." He stared straight into Yamato's eyes. "There is a path to mastery with 3 stages. You cannot skip them. You cannot rush them. Ignore this, and you will remain mediocre forever." "And what path is that?" Yamato whispered. "Shuhari," the samurai replied. "Shu, obey. Ha, break. Ri, transcend. 3 stages, 1 destination, mastery." "Teach me," Yamato pleaded. The samurai paused, then nodded. "Tomorrow at dawn, come prepared. The first stage will destroy everything you think you know about learning." Chapter 3. Shu. The Death of the Ego. Dawn arrived. Yamato stood ready as the samurai stepped into the clearing. "Today begins Shu," the master said. "In this stage, you do not think. You do not question. You copy. Perfectly. No deviations." The samurai took a stance. "Hold this." Yamato imitated it. The master adjusted his foot by 2 centimeters, tilted his hip, lifted his shoulder a fraction. "Now breathe. 3 seconds in, hold for 2, exhale for 4. They stood like statues for 10 minutes. Yamato's legs burned. His mind screamed, "This is pointless." "Master, when do we practice real strikes?" The samurai turned slowly. "You think posture is boring, that breathing is a waste of time. That is why you are not a samurai. Mastery is built in millimeters, not miles." Yamato fell silent. "Shu isn't exciting," the master continued. "It teaches your body what your mind cannot yet grasp. Every future technique depends on these fundamentals." Weeks passed. Breathing, posture, basic movements, nothing flashy, no new techniques, just repetition, day after day. Yamato hated it, until he didn't. Gradually his stance felt natural, his breath flowed effortlessly, his body began moving without needing commands. 3 months later, the master demonstrated a simple horizontal strike. "1,000 times," he said, "exactly as I showed you." Yamato practiced endlessly. On the 4th day, in the middle of his 400th repetition, something happened. His body executed a perfect strike all on its own. Fluid, precise, automatic. The samurai nodded. That is Shu. When the skill enters your body so deeply, the mind is no longer required. Most people never reach this stage. They think repetition is beneath them. But science backs the samurai's words. Neuroscientists in Tokyo found that after 300 to 500 correct repetitions, the cerebellum begins forming an automatic pattern. After 1,000, the skill becomes unconscious, migrating from effort to instinct. But if you change the technique too soon, the pattern never forms. You stay stuck in conscious mode, slow, tiring, and full of mistakes. Chapter 4. The Eternal Student Trap. 6 months of Shu passed. Yamato had mastered 12 basic techniques so deeply that he could perform them in his sleep. Literally. One night, his master woke him suddenly and commanded a vertical strike. Yamato's body responded perfectly, without a single thought. But something troubled him. He watched other warriors, some with years more experience, who boasted hundreds of techniques. They knew every kata, every ancient master, every style. Yet in real combat, their movements lacked life. They had knowledge, but not mastery. One morning, Yamato finally asked, "Master, why do warriors who know so much fight worse than I do, when I know only 12 techniques?" For the first time in months, the samurai smiled. Because they are trapped in the eternal student's hell. They collect techniques like children collect toys. They learn something new before they've mastered the last. They read 1,000 strategies but internalize none. They mistake knowledge for mastery. The master pointed to a tree. Knowledge is just the map. Mastery is walking the land so many times that you no longer need the map at all. He turned back to Yamato. "Shu gave you your foundation. You obeyed without question. You repeated until the movements became part of you." A pause. Then, "Now, you are ready to break." Yamato frowned. "Break? Break what?" The master's eyes hardened. "Everything I taught you." Chapter 5. The Dangerous Breakthrough. "In Shu, you became my mirror," the master said. "You copied me perfectly, and that gave you your foundation. But if you stop there, you'll never be a true warrior. You'll only be my shadow." He drew a circle in the dirt. "Shu lives inside this circle. your limits. Now begins Ha, where you break the circle." But the samurai raised a warning finger. Most people mistake Ha for rebellion. They break the rules not because they've mastered them, but because they're too lazy to. Ha is not rejecting your training. It is understanding it so deeply that you can reshape it. That afternoon, for the first time in 6 months, another instructor appeared. A warrior from a completely different school, with a completely different style. "For the next year," the master said, "you will train with him as well. His techniques contradict everything I taught you." Yamato frowned. "Won't that ruin my progress?" "If your shu was shallow, yes, you would become a confused, mediocre fighter, but your foundation is deep, and because of that, something rare will happen. You will begin to see the universal principles beneath all styles." So began Yamato's Ha journey. Mornings with his first master, low posture, precise economy, patient defense. Afternoons with the second, high stance, explosive strikes, relentless offense. The contradictions were overwhelming. At first, Yamato's mind felt like it was splitting in two, but after 3 months, something clicked. Despite the differences, both masters were teaching the same truths: how to move energy, how to read an opponent, how to stay fully present. "Now you're seeing clearly," his first master said. "Shu taught you form, Ha teaches you principle. Once you know the principle, the form becomes a tool, not a cage." A year later, Yamato's style had transformed. He wasn't a copy of either master. He was something new. One morning he blocked an attack using the first master's stance, then countered with the second master's explosive strike. The movement was so natural, he didn't even realize he had fused 2 opposing styles into one. His teachers stared in surprise. "What was that?" the second master asked. I don't know," Yamato said. "It just felt right." The masters exchanged smiles. "Ha is complete," the first declared. "You're no longer obeying blindly. You're no longer rebelling. You're adapting with understanding." But the master's face darkened. "And this," he said, "is where 99% of warriors stop. They think Ha means mastery. They can mix techniques, create variations, express creativity. They feel proud." He stepped closer. "But Ha is still a prison. You're limited by what you've learned. You're a skilled artist, not a true master." He lowered his voice. "There is a final stage, one only one in 1,000 ever reaches. And to enter it, you must do something almost no one has the courage to do." A pause. "You must forget everything." Chapter 6. Re, the silent transcendence. Re is the stage where techniques disappear, the master said. Not because you stop using them, but because they no longer exist as separate things. There is only pure response to the moment. Yamato frowned. "How can I fight without techniques?" "You'll understand," the master replied. "But first, listen." He began a story. "When I was young, I spent 40 years studying the sword. I mastered hundreds of techniques and a dozen styles. I was called one of the greatest swordsmen in the region, until an old master challenged me. He must have been 80, frail, barely able to stand. I accepted out of politeness." The master's voice softened. "He defeated me in 3 moves. And the strangest part, he used no technique I recognized. It wasn't style A, B, or C. It was nothing and everything, like water, formless, effortless. He told me, 'You fight well, but you are still fighting. I do not fight anymore. I only respond. When you attack, my body answers before my mind even wakes up.'" Yamato absorbed the words. "So how do I reach that stage?" "Time," the master said. "Practice, and most importantly, stop trying." The next 5 years were the most difficult of Yamato's life. The master stopped teaching new forms. Instead, he made Yamato fight, every day against every kind of opponent. At first, Yamato thought constantly, use the first master's block, combine with the second master's counter, switch to high stance now. His mind was a battlefield of decisions, but slowly, over years, something began to dissolve. The names of techniques faded, choices disappeared, movements merged into instinct. Then, one day, everything changed. During a brutal fight against 3 opponents at once, Yamato felt something open. He didn't remember choosing anything. His body simply moved, blocking, striking, pivoting, smoothly, effortlessly, as if he were watching someone else use his body. When the fight ended, all 3 opponents were on the ground. Yamato stood calm, barely out of breath. He couldn't recall a single technique he used. From afar, his master nodded with a rare smile. You finally stopped fighting. But I fought 3 people, Yamato said. No, the master replied. Your body responded. There was no you deciding anything. That is Rai. You have gone beyond technique. It lives in you now, so deeply you don't even know it's there. Modern science agrees. A Kyoto University researcher studying expert performance for 22 years discovered that at the highest level of mastery, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for conscious decision-making, shuts down. Older, faster brain systems take over. The master put it simply, at this level, you are no longer doing the skill. The skill is doing you. Chapter 7. The Master with No Name. Years passed, and Yamato was no longer the eager village boy chasing a distant dream. He had become a samurai, respected, disciplined, and quietly feared. Students traveled from far-off villages just to kneel before him, always asking the same question. Master, how many techniques do you know? Yamato always answered with the same calm smile. None, and all. This drove his students mad. They wanted numbers, lists, guarantees. But Yamato had learned a truth only revealed to those who walk the entire path of Shuhari. Techniques are only fingers pointing at the moon. Most people never stop staring at the finger. One day, a proud young student challenged him. My previous instructor knows 500 techniques. How can you be greater than him if you know none? Yamato lifted a wooden sword, then strike me with one of his 500. The young man launched his most advanced attack. In an instant, so subtle it seemed like Yamato barely moved, the boy was flat on the ground, weaponless and stunned. You used a named technique, Yamato said gently. One you memorized, one that works, sometimes. But I didn't use a technique at all. My body simply answered the moment. Not technique A or B, just the perfect response to a situation that has never existed before and will never exist again. He helped the boy stand. You have 500 choices. I have infinite because I am not choosing. I am responding. Chapter 8. The Universal Path. Yamato's journey was never just about swords. It was about mastery itself, and mastery follows one path in every skill. Shuhari, want to learn guitar? Shu, copy songs exactly, no flair, no improvisation. Ha, mix styles, understand the patterns behind the music. Ri, the guitar disappears, music flows out of you effortlessly. Want to code? Shu, copy experienced developers line by line. Ha, understand why patterns work and start adapting them. Ri, solutions appear the moment you see the problem. Want a successful business? Shu, study what already works. Ha, adapt proven systems to your niche. Rai, you read the market like a master reads an opponent. Shuhari isn't samurai philosophy. It's how deep learning happens everywhere. But here's the truth no one wants to hear. Most people never master anything because they refuse to start with Shu. I want to be creative. I don't like following rules. I want to do it my way. It sounds bold, but it's just ego avoiding hard work. Everyone wants freedom, but no one wants the discipline that makes freedom possible. People skip the fundamentals, rush into Ha before they've earned it, and end up average at everything. They try 47 hobbies and master none. Let's be brutally honest. You're not stuck because you lack talent, time, or tools. You're stuck because you want mastery without repetition. You want the results of a master with the patience of a beginner. There is no shortcut. There never has been. Every world-class expert across music, sports, coding, business follows the same 3 stages. Shu, imitation, 1, 3 years Ha, experimentation, 3, 7 years Re, intuition and innovation. Not one master skipped the first stage, not even prodigies. So here's what you must do. Choose one skill, the one that would transform your life. Find one mentor, someone 10x ahead of you. Enter Shu with total humility. Copy precisely, no creativity yet. Move to Ha once it's effortless. Stay there for years. One day, Re will arrive on its own. Yamato learned this too late. His only regret at the end of his life was not entering Shu sooner. He said, "An extra year of mastery is worth more than gold." And he was right, because Shuhari isn't just about learning a skill. It changes who you become. It transforms the impatient version of you into someone capable of greatness. Mastery won't come find you. You must walk toward it, step by step, repetition by repetition. Shu, Ha, Re, the ancient path, the proven path, the path that works. Now it's your turn. What skill will you master through Shuhari?